Hey guys, welcome to the UrbanCred Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Wang, and today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Hunter Craighill, a designer and craftsman who has created some of the most beautiful and functional objects out there. In this episode, we'll be talking to Hunter about his creative process, his inspirations, and his philosophy on design. We'll also be discussing some of his most notable projects, how he balances the demands of running his own studio while still maintaining his commitment to quality and craftsmanship. So, whether you're a designer yourself or simply appreciate good design, you won't want to miss this conversation. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, Hunter, I know who you are, and some of our customers know who you are. But for those who do not, can you give them a little bit of an intro to you and your company?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Edward. Yeah, I'm Hunter Craighill. I run Craighill, which is a design brand, and we kind of focus on a wide range of what we consider design objects, but it encompasses everything from home goods and mechanical puzzles and soft goods increasingly with bags and some wallets that we're working on. Just some EDC stuff, some pocket knives and key rings, and yeah, a lot of different types of products in different materials and manufacturing processes. And yeah, so I run the business. It's a team of 10, and I spearhead all of the design there.
Cool. So let's go back to. I always like to talk about the origins of the brand and the origins of the person I'm talking with and how they got their start and how they started in this path. Can you give us, can you tell us like how, like where you're from, what your family was like, and just the, like the superhero origins of your life?
Yeah, sure. Totally. We can go all the way back to the very beginning. So yeah, I grew up in Virginia, outside of DC. Yeah, and I mean, that's a good question. I think that it took me a long time to appreciate maybe the influences and how they impacted me when I was younger and how they kind of shaped the path that I took and what I ultimately focused on in my kind of adult career. But yeah, looking back on it, my parents certainly had a big influence. My mom, she actually went back to school when I was in high school to get her degree in decorative arts and ended up working at the State Department in DC at the they have a collection of rooms that are used for diplomatic purposes, but it's also one of the finest collections of American decorative arts. So, the desk that the Treaty of Paris was signed on and famous portraits and furniture throughout American history. And so she was the director of that collection. And she also was an antiques dealer. And yeah, just had this, our house was always filled with, yeah, interesting furniture and objects and art throughout, yeah, usually American and European and also world history. So I think I was surrounded by a lot of objects that had interesting stories in my youth. And my dad was a sports agent and an entrepreneur. And so he started one of the first kind of sports agencies and had a lot of interesting, kind of well-known athletes as clients. And yeah, but always had this kind of entrepreneurial itch and started several businesses over his career. And so I think, yeah, it was a few years ago where I kind of pieced it together where I was like, oh yeah, what I'm doing, starting a business focused on essentially, designing objects, feels very much the result of what my parents did and what I witnessed them doing growing up.
And I know some people I talk to, whenever we make comparisons with our parents, they're like, "Oh no, I'm turning to my parents." Was that? But it sounds like the influences that your parents had on you and the comparisons that you just mentioned. It seems that it's something that you're proud of, and it sounds like, if I'm right to assume, that your parents are also very proud of kind of where you have ended up and where the direction you are going in life.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I certainly had the rebellious youth and attitude when I was young, and I feel like I would have refused to acknowledge their influence on me when I was younger.
Right. Yeah.
And but certainly, I think at this point, I'm very appreciative of yeah, of their influence and the way that they maybe subtly and less subtly shaped the direction I took. And I think, or I hope that they are proud of me. They say that they're proud of me, and I try to believe them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah. My parents, it's like the classic immigrant story. They came from overseas and then they kind of started a business and then they kind of helped raise sort of us halfway through life. And, sometimes I think back on my own parents and I think, oh, like I don't want to, like, I think, oh, I don't want to end up like my parents, but I can't deny that how they brought us up, it was like a big influence on like, what I do now, right? Like started my own business as well. And it's definitely clear that when I feel like when I was younger, I subconsciously felt like, oh, I do want to do what my family has done before. And it's interesting kind of growing up in that space. When you were younger, were you also interacting with a lot of what your parents like do? Like when your dad with his sports business, did he bring you along? Did he talk to you about it?
Yeah, I got to go on a couple of trips, and there were some fun. He would often just get tickets to things. So we got to go to the World Cup in France, and we got to, go to.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So he would often just have clients and stuff that would hook him up with access to some of these events, which was always very fun. And seeing him in those moments was it's a very formative image of my view of my dad. And I think watching my mom, who had an antiques business before she worked at the State Department, but then when I was in high school and my two older siblings had already gone off to college and kind of leave the nest, she went back to school and got her master's degree and then got this job at the State Department and then worked her way up to this director of this decorative arts collection and these diplomatic rooms. And I think seeing her kind of in middle age go back to school and create this kind of new direction of her career was pretty inspiring. To see what that kind of focus and commitment, how that can pay off, was something that made me really proud and kind of showed a path. I can't remember exactly what your question was, but I hope that answered it.
No, this happens all the time. No, absolutely. I think a lot of people, even myself, I always think about, oh, I can't, we're getting to a certain age, it limits on what we can do. So it's definitely inspiring to be able to hear that it's never too late to go and achieve what you want to or try something. Even though, people say something or think otherwise, it's just an age number. It's just a number. And it's always good to try. Right?
And I think in this era also you can, like, there's so much access to information and education, and I feel like just having the confidence in yourself to be able to teach yourself what you need to know to solve whatever problems, no matter, not limit yourself by this conception of, oh, I'm too old for that, or, oh, I'm not good at this, or whatever it is.
Right.
Powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I do want to kind of segue into now your kind of education and your life during the school years. Did you always plan on going to like design and creating? Did you always have like a dream? Oh, I'm going to do something for myself.
No, I think I was pretty directionless for a long time, and I think I had a pretty nonlinear path towards where I am currently, and maybe it'll continue in a nonlinear way after this. But I went to college at Wesleyan, which is a liberal arts school in Connecticut, and thought I was going to go study music. I was in a band with my friends in high school, and I played bass, and I was terrible, but it was somehow part of my identity. And I think studying music for a semester at Wesleyan, I quickly realized that I wasn't good at it, nor did I find it as satisfying inherently as I maybe hoped or thought that I would.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up changing my kind of focus and major at college a few times. I pivoted to environmental studies for about a year, and then I was doing sociology for a semester, and then finally found my way to architecture, which was part of the kind of studio art program there. And yeah, I think at college quickly realized, I think I took the kind of architecture one course, and a lot of our assignments were about drawing and model making, and a lot of like woodshop time making models of different kind of concepts and projects. And ultimately I found that I was very satisfied and very excited about spending all night in the woodshop making a model. And that was, I kind of like hated the term papers and research stuff that I was doing for other class, and the pulling all nighters to finish long papers or study for tests was, yeah, kind of agonizing for me. But when I had to, or when I was really excited about making some kind of model in the wood shop for architecture, I would just get lost in it, get into that kind of flow state, and all of a sudden it was 5 a.m. and I had been obsessively, finishing this thing, and I was so excited to kind of present it in our critiques. And I think that was when it kind of clicked. And that was, I think, the beginning of my junior year, but that was when it kind of clicked that, yeah, it's like, that's what I should be focusing on. This is like what I find exciting. And it kind of connected some dots. There were some art classes and things I did in high school that, yeah, I'd kind of really loved, and worked on some, I made some furniture and made some weird storage things when I was in high school, and trying to teach myself some DIY kind of woodworking and crafting. And yeah, architecture at Wesleyan seemed to encapsulate a lot of what ultimately maybe went back to my Lego building as a kid, and the extensive Lego collection that I had. So yeah, so I kind of pursued the architecture path at Wesleyan, and I ended up working for my advisor, who's a practicing architect, for about 6 months after college, and kind of quickly realized that the kind of academic approach to architecture is very different from the real life practice of architecture. And in college, we were, pursuing projects that were, just theoretical, but very open ended, and you didn't need to worry necessarily about budgets and about engineering and about clients and their bad tastes, and about even electrical or window details and things that are kind of more mundane but critical. And then in the real world, designing kind of window treatment details for a client that doesn't kind of see the world the same way as you was not so fun. And I think that maybe a lot of
Right.
early graduates in a lot of different fields have that kind of reality check. But that was the moment when I was like, okay, well, like I loved this in college and I loved studying it, but I don't love practicing it. And I had this, early quarter life crisis where I was like, I don't want to be an architect. I thought I wanted to be an architect, but what do I do here? So that's when I kind of went off, tried a lot of different things, but that was the kind of path that brought me at least closer to the design world and closer to the making of physical objects. But I mean, I can keep rambling here, but I'll give you a minute to check in. And
No. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think for myself, I think if I were to, there was a time when I was in college and I interned for like a business, and I was in charge of their social media, and I was in charge of like dealing with some of the business aspects. And I thought I would have liked it, but I didn't as much as I thought I would. And then once I started my own business, when I was when I had to go do those things for my own business, it was much more compelling for me to work on it because it's something that you're creating yourself, and it's like your baby, and you're willing to work. And for me, it's like all aspects of the business for to kind of push my own business forward is interesting, compared to like work for someone else and having to conform to what they want, and conform to what they view as good or good
Right.
enough. So that's kind of interesting to kind of see your aspect of it, and compared to my own.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's I think client work was always a challenging thing, and like working, not just like working for someone else, because I actually I don't dislike the idea of working for someone else, and I've done that to varying degrees of satisfaction. But yeah, when you're doing it for yourself and kind of you are the client, which is only partially true. You have customers, I have customers, and to some degree, they are the client. But I think that they resonate with what you and I resonate with.
Right.
But it's yeah, it is just a different thing when you are the client and you're doing it kind of for yourself. It is. I'm definitely more willing to put in the hours to do some of those things that I might not have sought out previously.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Craighill, then, how did that start come about? You got out, you weren't happy, and then you started kind of playing with creating your own products, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I left working for my advisor, who I really liked him. I still like him a lot, but I took a couple of left turns, and I worked in San Francisco did this marketing pop-up art project, and worked for do some Levi's marketing things, and then a project that brought me to New York, and I somehow at some point, I think on a flight, I saw on the cover of a magazine, and I got to figure out what it was. There was a picture of this beautiful axe, like a wood chopping axe with a painted handle.
It's like Axe Illustrated. It's just images of beautiful axes.
Yeah. I mean, I would subscribe to that magazine.
Right. Yeah.
But this was maybe 2010, something, maybe early 2010, something like that. And I saw it, and it was just like I think that there was this moment of kind of urban lumberjack romanticism back then, and it kind of stirred something in me. And so the company that was making them was called Best Made, which made these kind of fancy. It's a fancy kind of outfitter, which still exists. They were bought by Duluth a couple of years ago, but yeah, Best Made was just getting started, and this guy Peter Buchanan Smith had been kind of painting these axes and kind of presenting them as these pseudo art, but really just inspiring American kind of design objects that had these stories and had these emotions tied up in them. And something about it just made me so excited, and I knew that was the company I wanted to work for, and I wanted to seek out this guy Peter. And so I, as this project that I was working on in New York was wrapping up, I kind of just persistently emailed Peter. I don't know how I got his email address, but I emailed him asking to just come intern or just work for him part-time or whatever it was. And I think that there's something to be said about the persistence. I feel like he responded to one email and then didn't respond for a while. And I knew from my personal experience that I'm not always the most responsive. I'm not always great at following up with every email. And so I didn't take it personally. I just kept emailing him every couple of weeks. And just then finally he let me come intern for him. And he had one employee who was kind of helping him at the time, who just coincidentally about a month after I started working with Peter, the employee kind of left, and Peter just offered me the job kind of helping him build this small, tiny business. So we were literally, I mean, at that point we were buying axes from this manufacturer in Maine, and we were changing them and then painting them and then reselling them. And then we had a couple of other products that we were reselling. And I had never had any exposure to the kind of retailing world. I never had any exposure. This was like kind of early Shopify days, where people could kind of get an e-commerce store up and running relatively quickly. And it was, the whole marketing was focused on weekly email blast on Wednesday afternoons. And
wow, this is a long time ago.
yeah, I know I mean, it was maybe 12 and a half, 13 years ago, which feels, sounds both not that long and also very long.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand.
But it was, just an amazing introduction to both entrepreneurship, running your own business, but also the kind of storytelling behind products, the learning how to manufacture products, how to find factories, how to do customer service, how to set up kind of workflows to keep things organized and efficient. So I worked for Peter for about 3 years, and the company grew. I think it was maybe 9 people, and we had a retail store when I left. We just opened a retail store and down in Tribeca, and that's made kind of continue to grow, and had an interesting kind of path afterwards that I kind of followed just from knowing a bunch of people there. But they did a lot of amazing marketing, amazing product storytelling, amazing sourcing. Met a lot of amazing people there, and I decided, I guess in late 2013, I was like, I want to kind of do this for myself. I had a slightly different vision for my aesthetic, for what I, how I would maybe approach product development, which was ultimately not that different, but it was different enough where I kind of wanted to be in charge of some of the creative decision making. And I tried to go start my own version of this, and me and my cousin started a business called General Manufacturing, and made a handful of products and tried to do it direct to consumer, just online, and kind of tried to replicate a lot of the structure that Best Made had, and ultimately found it to be kind of a harder model to just replicate. I think in a lot of different reasons for it, but we just couldn't quite get the same traction, and there's a lot of great products that I still have a lot of affection for and still stand behind, but we're trying to do just online, and I think we were having a hard time building an audience and getting enough traction behind it. And ultimately, both me and my cousin who were running it needed to kind of get side gigs. And so I was doing some consulting for another small leather goods company and designing and helping run that. And slowly that was taking up more and more of my time. And I also through that learned a lot about the wholesale side of the business and how to structure pricing and get margins and figure out, how trade shows work and how do you get in front of wholesale buyers. And so general manufacturing was kind of honestly winding down a little bit as I was getting all this exposure into, some other aspects of how to run a business of this sort that I had not previously had. And so, it kind of came to this point where I figured I either needed to kind of start over, and kind of start a new brand, kind of pivot a couple of the products that we had at General Manufacturing, and then create a bunch of new ones, go to trade shows, get in front of wholesale accounts, or I needed to kind of, throw in the towel and go work at West Elm or do product development somewhere. And throughout this whole process, I think I had realized that the product development side of it really scratched the same itch as the like model making in the wood shop at college. It was that, that design and that problem solving that got me into this kind of flow state. And and I really felt that product development, product design was my calling and what I was, inherently just fulfilled by. So I knew I wanted to do that somewhere, either for myself or for someone else or for a bigger company. But I figured at that point, and this was maybe 2015, I decided to give it one more go. I was like 28 or 29, and I was didn't have a whole lot of responsibilities or dependencies, and I could live cheaply for a while, and figured it was like the right time to kind of go for it. And decided to start anew with the things that I had learned from some of my failures and past experiences. And so started Craighill at the end of 2015, and kind of convinced a friend of mine who's my business partner, Zach, to come and help me on the sales side, because I realized that was my weakness. I was pretty good at the product development and about sourcing and about design and finding these opportunities to make objects that were compelling and efficiently made. But I was not good, and nor did I enjoy the sales side of it.
Right.
And so Zach, who is my partner, is very good at the charming sales stuff, and kind of doggedly chasing down opportunities and coming up with new ones, and finding good partnerships, and all the kind of outward facing aspects of the business.
Basically doing what you did to the Madewell, just constantly emailing other people.
Totally, exactly. Yeah. So, so that was my kind of the long version of bringing me up to Craighill.
No, that's really interesting, and it must have been a really tough decision to decide to either guaranteed make money, or maybe make money, but do something that you really want to do.
But I mean, I'm curious what you like. When did you first start UrbanCred, and what was that? I mean, did you have that similar kind of pivot, that question, the fork in the road?
I did actually. It was kind of similar actually, where I started a business out of college, and like when you're in college and now you're kind of interested in different things. Your aesthetic changes, and a lot of different things change. And during that time, I was really into Japanese culture and like Japanese animation, and I was selling like the Japanese like toys from Japan and things like that, just because that's something I was interested in back then. And I went to trade shows, conventions, and I tried to do online as well. And online sales weren't so great, but conventions did really well. And I think it was like 7-8 years of that, and it was like really more of conventions. I had to lug shelving and lug. I mean, you've done trade shows, are very similar.
Yeah.
And and it's not easy, and it's stressful.
Oh.
And when
you need to be on for 10 hours a day, and it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And then like I feel like there's always something that's going to happen, like that's going to go wrong at the trade show or a convention. It's something hasn't arrived by the time it's there, or like it's always problem solving, working something out. So it was after all those years, and I was like getting to like reaching 30, and then I feel like my friends are always saying, oh, once you hit 30 it's all downhill. So I was kind of feeling it.
Yeah.
It was like, and I was getting burnt out, and I was exhausted, so I wanted to kind of switch out. But I think in a year before actually ending that business, I was kind of started getting into like carry and bags, and appreciating like design, like in the mundane items of every day, as well as just the things that you use constantly. So And then during that day, during that year, I was kind of brainstorming. Oh, it'd be really cool to be able to open a business for this, to sell this, and to kind of offer like a collection that I would like, but also find people who are in the same mindset that would like the same things. So I kind of spoke this with my wife, and then she's like, "Okay, you keep talking about it. Stop talking to me about it." And then I was like, I was like, "Okay, just." And people always say there's never a good time to do something or start something or switch something. But for me, there was a point in time. It was that moment where I was like, you know what? I think it's a good time to switch. I feel good about it. So I did. I shut down my old business, and well, I was kind of put on hiatus, expecting to go back. But when I switched, I kind of loved. I loved what I sold. I loved, looking for great products. I loved interacting with customers that don't hate me. I loved,
Yeah.
like just vibing with customers on this kind of designed product. And it just kind of, I just shut the old company down completely. I don't even think there was like an announcement. It was just like,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
And then I just went all in on UrbanCred, and it was great. So
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean,
so it's kind of similar.
totally. Yeah. And it's a hard, it's a hard pivot to make. And I think, it's like there's a lot of yourself wrapped up. I think that the businesses we create are separate entities to ourselves, but when you have started them and cultivated them, there's a lot of yourself in it. And, it's a double-edged sword. It makes it very fulfilling, but it's, feels very personal and perilous sometimes. And, but so that's interesting just to hear that your journey to get there.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm sure there's a lot more in there, but I don't remember. But but going back to Craighill then, like, is it, I've had like a lot of difficulties and road bumps on my journey. Did you have any, like, what was like the most difficult challenge that you faced during your time at Craighill?
It's a good question. It's interesting. I mean, so we've been in business now 7.5 years, or a little over 7. I mean, I think that we think about 2016 as really our first full year. I think we got the website up at the end of 2015, or just in time for kind of Black Friday in 2015, and didn't have any customers or anything, so it wasn't much of a launch.
Right.
So it just feels like, looking back on it, every maybe 2 years has been a kind of, there's been some kind of fundamental shift, where we just learn more. And I think that there's learning about different pieces of the business. There's learning about the how to develop the right products with the right manufacturing partners, how to build the right kind of collection, how to run the website and the fulfillment side of it, how to build a team, and how to properly kind of hire and manage people, which is definitely not something that I am inherently good at, and something I'm like continually trying to get better at. And
I feel like it's always when you're running like your own business, it's always like a learning process. It's always something that you're trying to figure out to kind of solve for your business.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, we were joking about that before we were recording, but I feel like that's what I do all day, is I'm solving problems, and I'm trying to solve the problem kind of once and document it and figure out how to not make it a problem or make it easier to solve next time. And, I think to humans, everybody finds problem solving satisfying. Different types of problem solving, at least. But I'm thinking about, like, what is the hardest moment? I think that there were a lot of what felt like perilous moments throughout the course of Craighill. I think that there's a lot of years still, where we are a seasonal business where we do a lot of products that are very giftable, and so the fourth quarter is a very strong one for us. And so generally our finances and sales are not quite where they need to be for the first 9 months of the year, and then it's all kind of gets made up in the fourth quarter with some spikes. But that's always a precarious moment going into September, where we bought a lot of inventory and our bank account is low, and we're trying to figure out if we bought things correctly, and we hear that Wired is going to include something in a gift guide and we don't have enough inventory, and there's that
Right.
panic to figure out.
You deal with that all the time as well.
Yeah.
Just getting that number right.
Totally. And so there's moments when where it feels there's like the financial strain, which thankfully we've never had become a real crisis. I think that going into COVID was obviously this perilous moment where we were not sure what was going to happen, what to do, and how to pivot to be as much of the team remote as possible. And that was a kind of something of a crisis moment on a lot of different fronts that year 2020. And we had previously been doing a lot of our kind of finishing in-house, so we would do a lot of getting a lot of our products kind of made in components at different factories or made in an unfinished state. And then we would do a lot of, we used to make these money clips that we'd get laser cut out of spring steel, and the flat laser cut pieces would come to us, and we would kind of grind down the edges to make them not sharp and polish the whole thing. And then we had a custom bending rig for bending the form into a money clip shape. And there was just a lot of manual processes that we had built into our product line. And, we had been hiring mostly a lot of friends. We had a lot of friends who were musicians who were, when they were home from tour looking for work, and that was not a great strategy for hiring.
Right.
And, and so we, all of a sudden when COVID started, couldn't have the kind of team in the office and in the studio and the workshop to be working on those things, and try to figure out how to basically have people take things home, different parts of it, and one person come in at a time. And there was certainly that moment of wondering, is this temporary? Are we coming back? And I remember those those conversations with Zach, my partner, and we kind of decided that we were not going to we weren't going to act too prematurely about making decisions about winding down the team or winding down anything, and we were going to let the kind of data speak for itself and see the sales and see the response. And so there were logistical challenges, but ultimately, our wholesale business dropped off pretty dramatically because all of our retail stores that we were selling to were kind of shutting down or were not allowed to be open, which was a bummer, like in a more serious way than maybe a bummer indicates. But a lot of these people who had helped us get the business off the ground by buying our products and getting behind it, retailing it, and some of them shut down and didn't reopen. And it was really, really sad. But thankfully for the business, the e-com sales, direct to consumer sales, spiked in a way that basically covered the deficit that the wholesale business falling off created. And and so thankfully we didn't have to downsize the team at all, and we did have to do a lot of the production pivoting, and ultimately it led to some more outsourcing and finding factories that could really finish products entirely for us, and so we didn't have to do so much kind of manual labor in New York City, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Right. But that was a definitely precarious feeling moment. And I mean, I feel like
it definitely wasn't. I feel like it was that spike in e-commerce sales. I bet that wasn't even expected, just because that was such an uncertain time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I remember calling our accountants at the time and just trying to get advice from people who have more experience and perspective on this. And um, their their advice, which I'm not sure if it was the necessarily right advice, but their advice was just don't panic. And
Okay.
and they were like,
Just chill.
they were like, don't panic. This is terrifying, but like, don't make any rash decisions. They were talking about it. They remember they had businesses they worked with during 9/11, and
Oh wow, yeah.
you know, everyone thought the world was ending for a week in New York City, and you know, and then a couple months later, businesses started to get back to normal, and yeah, so I think there are these. Yeah, the advice was just don't panic, which I guess was useful to us at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, I guess this is true, right? Like when you're in the heat of it, it's very easy to kind of pull your hair out and say, "Oh shit, what to do? What are we going to do next?"
Yeah, definitely.
So then like during your I know you designed the products at Craighill, and you're like the one who's kind of saying yes or no. How do you in the design aspect of it then, how do you just stay motivated and kind of maintain your creativity without burnout?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I mean, as you know, I'm sure running a business, there's so many different um, types of work that are required. And so I'm ultimately responsible for the kind of financial side of the business, you know, in terms of, yeah, managing all of the books and everything. And there's a lot of HR and admin stuff. There's a lot of things competing for my time. And I consider myself a designer at my core. And then that is what I want to be doing. That's why I started this business, is because I love making functional objects that tell a story and that have a point of view and a perspective and have some kind of creativity or kind of clever, satisfying moments about them. But then I probably only spend realistically 10 or 15% of my time properly designing. And I probably spend another 10% managing people who also design, or, you know. And so we have two industrial designers who work with us. And they are much more talented in terms of the actual like drafting and 3D modeling and engineering and stuff. And so, yeah, I feel very motivated to have them and their creativity kind of executing some of these ideas that are in my head. And so, yeah, while I feel like I don't spend quite as much of my time designing as I like, I still feel like we get to move pretty quickly on things because, yeah, we have a solid team in place who, yeah, I feel like I have a connection with, and, you know, we collaborate together. And I think that there's kind of magic that can happen in the collaboration where solutions can arise that neither individual would have come to on their own. And so I think
It sounds like
go ahead.
it sounds like it's working in a team where you have the final say, but working with in a team with other people who have kind of like the credentials where you're satisfied with the stuff that they produce. You guys kind of work off of each other where you're not so pressured to kind of produce the next thing or trying to figure out the next thing, when you can kind of bounce ideas back with your teammates and kind of work towards a common goal. Is that something?
Yeah.
Is that something that, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's kind of exactly right. And I think, you know, we're trying to put a little bit more structure to our design and development process right now, where we have goals in terms of the number of products that we want to be putting out, because we do feel like that is our primary kind of marketing tool. That's like what gets eyeballs on the site and keeps people engaged. But we don't set strict deadlines for different projects, and we kind of don't compromise on it's like, okay, we've been working on this, new key ring for 3 weeks, and that was the window of time we had, and so we gotta, whatever we have, we gotta send it to manufacturing. We don't do that, which sometimes we should probably do a little bit more of, sticking to deadlines, but I think it's because it creates problems further down the pipeline when we need to put products out and we don't have them necessarily.
Right. Do you have like a I know we're talking about teammates. Do you ever have like a little bit of a competitive, like you ever feel competitive against your teammates, saying, "Oh, maybe I can produce or I can solve this problem faster. I can produce a better product than this guy," or does that ever occur?
No, well, I mean, I feel like I have the privileged position of being in charge, so I get I get to make final kind of decisions about things on the design front, and I feel like when I have that type of feeling, it typically manifests as envy, where I see something that one of my employees designed, or one of my other friends who's a designer, or some other business designs, and I think, like, damn, I wish I designed that. Like, that is so smart, so good. And I think I used to feel like embarrassed about that reaction, but then I realized that is the maybe highest compliment you can pay to somebody, is to be like, I am envious of how good that design is. Like, I wish I designed that.
Fuck you. That's so good.
Seriously. And and so I feel like and when that happens with my team, with my employees, I'm like, hell yes, we get to sell that thing. Like, my last name is going on that product, and I'm pumped. So yeah, I don't think I don't think there's a lot of competition. I feel like we're all kind of moving in the same direction.
Yeah, same boat.
Yeah.
So that's I actually want to talk about now the bags. So we kind of met at the Shop Objects show, and you were introducing a line of bags. We went over them. They looked unique, like, as in the whole design and the material, and how the outer material kind of looks compared to a traditional backpack in the market. It's very different. Was that something you had a say on starting that design, or did you kind of work with your team to kind of brainstorm this idea to life?
Yeah. It was a kind of long project. It took a bunch of years to pull together. And I had designed some bags back at Best Made, that probably wasn't qualified. I'm still probably not qualified to be a bag designer, but work with people who are. Yeah.
Hush, hush.
But I designed some bags. Then I designed some bags for some other companies that just kind of simple bags. And I think that this is the architectural education in me, where design, I feel like I always have to underpin design with some kind of decision, like a rationalization. There has to be like a reason for every decision that I can back up. If I'm challenged about, like, why is it this way, I want to be able to have a reason that's not just, it looks nice. And there's always deep down some level of it looks nice, but I want to be able to point to the technical or at least even theoretical reasons why something is. But so
has that design choice ever gone through to a final product? Like, oh, that just looks nice. Let's just have it go.
I think I'm trying to think of specific designs. Not really. I mean, some of them, I feel like there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum. On one end, it's like, this is just an aesthetic. This is just a looks nice object. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's this is the hyper technical justified, this is like the perfect material used in the perfect way to achieve this one function. And I think that we land generally somewhere right in the middle, but some products are more towards the aesthetic side than others.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get it.
But so I wanted to make a bag. I love bags. I have tons and tons of different bags. These are different purposes, and I had a couple of things that were bouncing around in my head where I had worked with this quilting factory that used to be around the corner from my studio at the time, back in East Williamsburg, where we, I think that place. I mean, I know that it has since gone out of business because it was just this remnant of when Williamsburg used to be a little bit more industrial and have factories. And they just had these old quilting machines that were, you can imagine, if you don't know what they are, there's very large, wide rows of needles that have generally 3 rolls of materials being fed into them and all stitched together. And you can set different cams that will change the pattern of the stitching as the material is being run through it. And I made a blanket with them when I was doing general manufacturing, and it was a really crazy old guy who ran it, who was a real hoot. But I was, thinking about the structure that this quilting can give to a material, and you can do different patterns, but you can also do a straight channel quilting. And depending on what you use as your inner and outer material and what you use as your fill, the resulting product will have, some kind of grain, or I think of it as a kind of corrugation. If you think like corrugated cardboard, where it wants to fold in one direction and doesn't really want to fold as much in the other direction. It was this kind of play and discovery and going over and sampling some quilting and some different materials, and then seeing how that material wants to behave and how it wants to bend or what kind of structure it has. And so essentially this bag rose out of this idea of I'm going to create essentially a new material, which is this assemblage of an inner and outer fabric, and then a spacer material, which we use spacer mesh, which gives it even more kind of body. And I feel like it's hard to do something new in the bag world, and I didn't feel like I was equipped to compete on the kind of hyper technical side, nor did that seem like where I wanted to be. That didn't seem perfectly in line with Craighill and my kind of aesthetic. But so we ended up, without having a final design, we ended up sourcing this interesting Japanese fabric that has this kind of nylon coating on it that has this little bit of a crinkle and is water repellent and has a beautiful texture to it, even though it's synthetic, and quilted it with this spacer mesh material. And then we basically had these 2 rolls of 50 yards of this quilted material that we kind of sampled some things with, and then we kind of sat on it for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And
That's a long time.
Yeah, unsure exactly what the product was. And then, and I feel like there's a lot of projects that ultimately have this cadence where we do some research and some work on it, and it doesn't quite materialize, and then we come back to it a little bit later with fresh eyes and some new experience, and we ultimately can make something cool. But so essentially about 2 years ago, we resurfaced this material and designed this very simple tote bag. There's 3 panels that really use the grain of the quilting, the channel quilting, in interesting ways to create structure. And we use these biothane kind of rubberized coated webbing handles to create this very simple A-frame kind of silhouette. And it was just a simple tote, and we were just, we hadn't really released soft goods at Craighill, and so this was a little bit of an experiment. We made a short run, and people seemed to like them, and it was a fun project that felt like it had a lot of opportunity for expansion and further kind of iteration and exploration. And yeah, and so last summer, or I mean, really early last year, we started developing a sling bag, and we ended up putting that out in the fall. So we had a second kind of style bag with the same material palette, using the kind of biothane and the quilted Japanese nylon, and it just felt like an interesting material palette that we could make our own, and it has a really nice body and structure that I love.
So this material then, like when you put out the first tote then, right? And then you got like good feedback back. Was that something, was there like a spark of excitement where like, oh, now we can kind of play around with something else, another category within Craighill? Because you've been doing Craighill for a bit of time, right? So to open up a new line, introducing new kinds of product, was that exciting for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always a little nerve wracking. I think when I was at Best Made doing the axes, there was always the folks that were on the Blade forum, the like hyper axe heads who did not care for what we were doing and thought we were kind of posers or something. And I feel like I always have this fear when I'm stepping into a new category where I'm like, are there people who are the most passionate people about this product type? Are they going to be critical? Are they going to not support what we're doing? And
you suck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think seeing that there was at least some positive feedback, at least the people who cared to reach out and that cared to buy it seemed to like it, was it was exciting to see. It was like, okay, maybe we are doing this from a different enough standpoint where it feels genuine and authentic, and it's not trying to be something that it's not. And
did that eventually allow you? So I guess this is kind of the chicken and the egg kind of question. Like, I know Craighill, you started producing knives and you're producing like some home good stuff as well, like that headphone stand I saw, Hush Hush.
Yeah.
But
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did the bags, like the tote, lead on to, okay, people like this tote, maybe we can also kind of expand to other categories as well?
Yeah.
Or was there vice versa?
I think a little bit of both. I think that I think there's some products that fit within predefined categories that we make, and then some products that feel outside of normal category, or like a little in between of existing categories. And
That's true. Yeah.
and I think that we sometimes we'll do something that feels like, okay, this is like an understandable product type, which should be a successful launch, and then doesn't really resonate as much with people. And then sometimes we'll do this thing out of left field, and we're like, this is just a kind of short run experiment, almost like a statement piece. Like that was the first of the mechanical puzzles. I didn't think anyone was going to buy that, and then it's now become a big chunk of our business, the mechanical puzzles. So it's hard to anticipate what's going to click with people. But I think we do have the confidence to kind of to try things, and I think that these successes in different realms, give us confidence that it's worth taking some risks. And that's like one of our things we can do as a small business, where we can kind of ignore maybe whatever market research is out there and try something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think being small gives you that versatility and that agileness to kind of try things without having to worry about your boss. Or
Yeah, totally.
The bureaucracy of a bigger company.
Yeah.
So then, like the bags, then like it's because it's interesting that you are using kind of like a different material, but you're using a material that existed for something else. Like a lot of bag companies who do hyper high high technical materials, they use those materials that wasn't originally for bags into bags, and then now you're kind of using like a quilt,
Yeah.
but you're kind of repurposing it for a bag. Is there like a was that kind of your kind of like thought process, as long as it was like, oh, this could definitely work as no one else is doing it?
Totally. I think, yeah, there's a couple different things that you said that resonate for me. I think that I think a lot of my skill as a designer is about recontextualizing things. So it's about like finding a material or a process and being like, what else, this has been used for making whatever chain link fences, but like, can we use it to make a keyring? Can we use this technology or this material to make something else that's a little lateral thinking? And so I think there's definitely something that was exciting and still is very exciting about that. Yeah, taking this kind of quilted assemblage of material, which kind of makes a lot of sense for bags because it's kind of pre-lined. You already have an exterior, and you can quilting it to an interior fabric, and you kind of just assemble this one amalgam material that becomes the final product. So there's something satisfying about that. There's also I think finding this balance between what feels familiar enough aesthetically. Like, I think the quilting, yeah, it feels like a familiar material, but it's been updated. It's a familiar construction, but it's updated with these materials that feel a little bit more contemporary. And it's the same thing with the biothane, with the rubberized webbing, which almost looks like leather, but then you touch it and move it and you realize that it's not leather, and but it's not so modern and foreign that it's confusing, but it's not so familiar that it feels rustic and like old timey or something. So it's finding that kind of sweet spot is where I like to exist, both for the things that I want in my life and ultimately the things that I want to make. Yeah. So something familiar enough for someone to connect to, but new enough to get excited about.
Right. Okay. Cool. So then, for this bag of this line of bags, there is you have a duffel that's coming out. You have the backpack. You have the sling, which is really cool. And then you have the existing tote. And do you have was there a new version of the tote as well? I don't quite remember.
No. So we're there's not a new version of the tote. It's the same tote. But yeah, the sling, which we put out in the fall, and then the new ones are the duffel and the backpack. And those are the kind of previews that you saw that'll be out this summer. And yeah, those feel like the rounding out of what feels like a collection of bags. And we also, I think that those two bags in particular, we needed some expert help, so we did enlist a bag designer I know to help us really kind of get the details right, just because I think a 3-panel tote is a little bit different from a 5-pocket backpack, and there's a little more ergonomics and just technical pattern making know-how that was required. So that's like another fun piece of when we get into a new product category, we often will kind of find the right expertise to come and help us. So those are the new ones that'll be out this summer, which I'm really excited about, and ultimately developed out of what I want in my life, selfishly.
That's always the case. I always pick up products that, oh man, I wish I can pick up. I'm just gonna sell on the website. That's all.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that now that it's going to be 4 bags, I guess I was saying this, but it feels like, a collection. And I think when we have a website that is pocket knives and key rings and bottle openers and mechanical puzzles, and then we have one bag, it can maybe be a little confusing, or people don't know whether we're kind of serious about soft goods. And my hope is that with 4 bags, it becomes a full section of our business, and people are maybe a little less skeptical. Not that they have been really skeptical, but that's been part of.
Are you serious though? Is
Yeah.
this a serious relationship that's going on right now?
Yeah,
Are you gonna, is the plan is to like shoot out more like robes and like bags and I don't know, like pants?
Well, I think the apparel part of it is further off, if ever. Although I do love robes. I feel like there was a moment in time where I really just wanted to make a robe company.
I just really wanted a robe.
Yeah.
My wife is like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right, well.
Yeah, totally. But we are working on a line of wallets right now, which I'm pretty pumped about. And that's been another project that we tried to do years ago and couldn't find the right manufacturer, and then we kind of revisited it, and it's been very slow. For such a seemingly simple thing, really getting the details right has been a very slow process. So we've been working on that for months. But I think we have our final prototypes coming together in the next week or two. So
nice.
Yeah, I feel like in the soft good accessory world, I think we're trying
on track.
It's a real commitment. It's a real relationship.
Yeah.
But I think, apparel and other fabric objects, to be determined. Okay,
so no boxers. Shame.
Not yet. A couple of years.
Yeah. With the same material as the bags.
Yeah. It's very warm.
Yeah. Let me see here. Okay, yeah. So last question is so you've now produced your line of bags and you also love bags. So is there a little bit of a struggle to pick which bag you use during your days out, or is there easy, I'm just going to use my bag I designed?
Well, I think I have an excuse where I'm constantly wear testing samples. And so I feel like I have a mandate to put our bags through the ringer and make them work. But also, selfishly, these are the bags that I wanted. And the sling bag came out of a need for, I bike to work every day in Greenpoint, and I will bring my lunch with me and bring a little bottle of water and some other things with me, and I didn't want to have to carry something over my shoulder or be able to just hop onto a bike without having to strap a bag to the front or anything like that. So I will say that probably 90% of the bags I carry at this point are some Craighill sample, which is really fun. And sometimes I get to talk about them when people ask me about them, and that's the most exciting possible thing that can happen to a designer, I think.
We're like dorks. We're talking about like...
Yeah. I was like, please, somebody ask me about this.
Yeah, please ask the details.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I struggle with I sell bags on our site, and quite a few actually, and some of the bags I carry are bags that I offer on the site. Some bags are bags that we have to kind of test as well before they go on the site, and other bags are just bags that I like. I have favorite bags that I just really love using, but I don't have the permission to sell them. So it's just it's for me, it's like a struggle. Oh, which bag should I use?
Yeah,
and it's tough because responsibility dictates I should be testing certain bags, but sometimes my desire wants me to pick some of the bags that I've been I bought, and it's pretty expensive, but I just never have a chance to use.
Yeah. Do you feel like do you have a bag that you love personally, and maybe you carry it on the site, but it doesn't resonate with other people, or like it doesn't, is it like other people don't seem to love it as much as you do?
That's a good question. Like something that doesn't match up with the aesthetic of the rest of the website.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let me think. I don't think so, actually. I think a lot of the bags I pick kind of match up with the aesthetics of what we sell, just because I feel like I'm kind of selling to myself.
Yeah.
But
It's a personal expression.
yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe if my wife made me use her bags,
Yeah.
then that's the worst case scenario. Then I can't even use any of my bags.
Yeah. I use like my for my carry on for traveling. I used to be really into just duffel bags, and I'm excited. I like now have one of our new samples that I've been using to take short trips and stuff. And I love being able to like run through the airport and not have a wheeled thing. But I will say I have some Pelican cases that I use as my carry on luggage, which there's something. It's like I don't think we could sell them at Craighill. Like maybe we could, but I just love a good old Pelican case. There's like something about the like rugged, weird plastic durability.
I saw your gift guide.
Oh yeah,
I saw that on the. It's like an excuse to put the Pelican case on the website.
That's like my one opportunity to let the real weird side out.
Yeah. Leak out.
Yeah.
No, Pelican cases are awesome. I actually don't have one. I'm waiting until we move into a bigger space to kind of pick up a few.
Yeah,
but the functionality of it is like amazing.
Totally. And there's like the color cases that I love, that you can kind of get the custom, handle colors or body colors and make them really a little funky, which is fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think people are like, "What are you guys talking about? You're so nerdy, talking about these cases." I'm like, what, Pelican? Is that a bird? These are cases, guys. These are like cool stuff. You guys don't understand.
Yeah.
And also, and lastly, I know on the gift card as well, I see the play date. Are you like a gamer at heart or something like that, or is it something like design wise that looks amazing?
I think both would be the answer. I think that I feel like this is divulging. This is my vulnerable nerdy side, but I love I love video games. I love a good kind of.
Oh my god, guys! The Hunter of Craighill is a freaking nerd.
Yeah. But I love a good RPG, and also love a good kind of casual, group co-op play thing. But the playdate, largely just from a design engineering perspective, like an industrial design, like the form factor and the details and the kind of like character and sense of humor that it has as an object, I really admire and really am drawn to. I don't actually have one.
Yeah, same. No, same. I think about it all the time, but I can't justify buying one because I know I'm not going to functionally use it.
Yeah.
But it just looks so cool, just the crank and the color and just kind of the retro aspect of it.
Yeah, they're doing some awesome things, and I think it's I want more objects of that kind of consideration to exist in the world, and things that have personality and character and a voice, and so it's one of those things that I admire. That's like one of those things that I was like envious of. I see that design and I'm like, damn it, I wish I made that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know what to get you for your for Christmas present, birthday present.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. September birthday.
So just if any of your family members hear this, they'll know.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so I'm going to shoot out some quick shotgun questions, and then you can just answer them quickly with like 1 or 2 words, or like 3-word sentence.
Sure.
See if you can. Okay, so then, see, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Oh, okay.
Iced tea.
Dark side, iced tea. That's so specific.
Yeah.
Dark side or light side?
Light side.
Oh, okay. You're a good guy.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, backpack or sling?
Sling for me right now.
Sling.
I think it
Okay.
shifts, but sling.
Okay. Walnut or oak?
Oak. I think oak increasingly.
Yeah. It was it used to be walnut, and then
I
now it's
think
just shifting to oak.
I think it used to be walnut, and I think I had a soft spot for walnut for a long, long time, and now I want a beautiful kind of bleached oak. Yeah, everything.
Okay. Just switching it up. What's your favorite color?
It's blue. I always feel weird about, should I have a favorite color? Colors are all beautiful in different ways. Blue though.
Blue.
Yeah.
Interesting. And tech. Well, I guess I guess like the future or the past.
Oh man. I mean, I think the future. I mean, the present is pretty cool. The present is very cool, but the future was, I think I feel like not a very dogmatic person, to be honest. Or I mean, I feel like I knew you said one or two words, and now I'm going to ramble. But I feel like there's validity
okay.
and value in references of the past and the experiments of the future and the possibilities. But yeah, future. I'm a big sci-fi nerd. I love the future. Future
Oh,
sci-fi.
my next one was sci-fi or fantasy.
Oh yeah, sci-fi.
But yeah, sci-fi. Yeah, I actually used to love fantasy, but now as I get older, it's more sci-fi. It's weird. I don't know why.
Totally. I think I'm the same way.
Yeah. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek, Next Generation.
Oh,
Picard. I mean, I love Star
man.
Wars too, but man, Picard is like who I would like to be in every way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's Craighill's future goal
yeah. That's my
to
my
become
my
a.
leadership
Dude,
aspirations.
this designing the bags. It's just a sign of you designing a starship in the future. That's what's happening.
That's where this is all ending up. I think. I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's the end of my shotgun questions.
Cool.
Hunter, it was a pleasure to have you on. I feel like we can talk for like another hour, have all these topics, but
Totally.
alas,
Yeah, this was really
time
fun.
is
I mean,
time is so much.
bring me back. Let's talk more.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. I would love to nerd out about like nonsensical stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anytime. But yeah, this was
but
really fun. Appreciate you taking the time. This is
yeah, I
great.
appreciate you coming on. This is it's not easy to take an hour or so out of your busy schedule to kind of come and talk about your feelings and my feelings.
Totally. I need a
that.
little therapy session. This is good.
Yeah. So, I know most people should know who you are and what Craighill does and sells, but for the people who have been living under a rock, where should they go to learn more about you and the company and any social media or whatnot? Just shoot it out now.
Yeah. So our website is craighill.co, which is CRAIGHILL.co. And our Instagram is Craighill Company, and those are probably the two best places to kind of see what we're doing and check out our catalog and our email list, which you can sign up for on our website, is a very good way to stay in the loop. We have some excellent kind of content about products that come out, but also just about things that we're interested in the world that people seem to like. So yeah, check us out and sign up for our email list.
Yeah, and for that bag line that we were talking about,
Yeah.
Hunter here has mentioned that it will be out in the summer. So be sure to throw away your old bags and pick up some new bags from Craighill.
Yeah.
And then you'll be much happier.
Definitely. Yeah, late June is the current kind of tentative drop date here.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for coming on, and we'll probably have you back on sometime soon.
Anytime. That would be great. Thanks a lot, Edward.
All right. Until the next episode, then.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya.